Major funding for Carolina Business Review is provided by Grant Thornton, an international accounting, tax, and business advisory organization dedicated to serving middle-market companies. Grant Thornton, a passion for the business of accounting. Novant Health, including Presbyterian in Charlotte and Forsyth in Winston-Salem, are affiliate heart hospitals of the Cleveland Clinic, consistently ranked #1 in the nation for heart care. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of South Carolina, proudly serving South Carolinians since 1946. And by Sonoco, a global manufacturer of consumer and industrial packaging products and provider of packaging services with more than 300 operations in 35 countries.
During the mid-2000s, when economic times were good, being mayor meant determining how best to spend all of those additional dollars coming in. Then the Great Recession hit. Being mayor meant you were on the front lines of tough budget decisions, including handing out pink slips. Welcome back to Carolina Business Review, the longest running and most widely watched source for Carolina business and public policy. I'm Sean Flynn in for Chris William. The job of being mayor is just that, a job. You're the face of a city, a salesperson to bring in new jobs, a spokesperson for the good and the bad, an accountant to figure out a lot of numbers, and oh yeah, a politician. Today, we're joined by 4 mayors on the front lines of dealing with all of these issues.
Major funding also by the Duke Endowment, a private foundation in Charlotte enriching communities in the Carolinas through higher education, health care, rural churches, and children's services. And by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. Who's responsible for rising health care costs? Join Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina and many others in a candid discussion at letstalkcost.com. This edition of Carolina Business Review was recorded June 29, 2012. On this week's program, Mayor Terry Bellamy of the City of Asheville, Mayor Steve Benjamin of the City of Columbia, Mayor Robbie Perkins of the City of Greensboro, and Mayor Stephen Wukela of the City of Florence.
I want to thank all of you for being here today for this discussion. I want to thank all of you for watching. I know all of you are politicians, whether you like it or not. Real quick, again, I know you're politicians, so that might be a little hard. Just give us a quick state of your city right now. We'll start with Mayor Bellamy in Asheville.
Well, first, thank you so very much for having me on the show. And I am a public servant. And Asheville's doing really well. We're excited about the growth we're seeing in the number of tourists who are coming to our community. We're expecting to have, over our last fiscal year, a 9% increase in sales tax. We just had some major job announcements. Linamar, a Canadian-based company, is expanding, adding another 250 jobs. We announced 400 from Linamar just last year. We're happy that New Belgium is coming. They're announced $75 million investment in our community. So I'm really happy that we passed our budget without a tax increase, and so we're excited about what's happening in Asheville.
All right, very good. Mayor Benjamin over in Columbia.
Columbia is exciting. I mean, we have a bold vision of being the most talented, educated, and entrepreneurial city in the Southeast, if not America. And we feel strongly that we're well on our way to being just that. We're wrapping up a fiscal year. We finished the last 2 in the black. Last year, $3.5 million in the black. We'll do it again this year, as of how much yet to be determined. Great year in the city and regionally, and economic investment, $1.1 billion in regional economic investment. We just had 750 new jobs announced by WNS in downtown Columbia just in the last few weeks. The Gamecocks are still winning. When the Gamecocks win, it's great for the local economy. But we're very proud. We've been investing heavily into, of course, public safety and in the arts and into the environment. And we believe that it's going to continue to help us reap rewards.
And we're going to talk about pretty much all of those issues in the coming 25 minutes or so. Mayor Perkins over in Greensboro.
Greensboro's in good shape. We're not where we want to be, but we know where we're going. We've got a strategy for economic development and job growth centered around our airport as a logistics and aviation hub, and around our universities in nanotech and engineering. We didn't have to raise taxes this year, and we feel like we've got a good regional strategy for both working with our neighbors and working with both the state and federal government.
All right. Mayor Wukela over in Florence.
Sure. Well, Florence is doing very well and growing dramatically. In the last 10 years, we've grown about 23%. And we've been able to recruit large industry. We've had Otis and Johnson Controls recently come to town. but also have had some success downtown. We've just recently built a new $35 million performing arts center, the Francis Marion Performing Arts Center, and are very proud of that in downtown Florence. We're building a new $12 million museum just a little bit further up the street. We've had some boutique restaurants and hotels come downtown, and so we're very proud of the growth both downtown and throughout the city of Florence.
Now, I know all of you are heavily involved in development and business of growth in all of your individual cities. We'll go over individual cities here, but Mayor Bellamy, your council is considering a business improvement district tax to try and help clean up trash, graffiti, and keep downtown safe. Talk about the battle you face internally, trying to balance, not trying to raise taxes, but trying to keep that downtown, which is an integral part of your economic engine, safe for tourism.
Well, the goal is to be clean, green, and safe. And so we did a downtown master plan, and we looked at how do we want to grow, what do we want to go, what's the vision for downtown. And one of the things that came out of it was looking at a bid. And it would be an opportunity to really address those things that as a city we can't really focus on because we're trying to provide services throughout the city. One of the things that attracts people to our community is our downtown. We have the largest number of Art Deco buildings outside of Miami, Florida. And because of that, we have a lot of people coming downtown. We look at it this way, that if we invest in our downtown, is in helping the entire city. We found out that for every $1 a non-downtown resident pays, downtown property owners pay $20. So they need additional support in that, making it cleaner, safer, and greener, because we've had a lot of people tagging our community. And so we've tried the nuisance abatement by sending people who have committed crimes to clean it up, and that's just not addressing it. And so the bid is going to address that, making sure that it's greener, cleaner, and I think we've added additional police protection, but we want it 24 hours a day. And so this is an opportunity to address that. And we're listening to the concerns that some citizens have. We haven't had a tax increase in our city in many, many years. And so for us to do it now, people are wondering, is this the right time? But if we don't provide some new products, making sure it's cleaner, making sure it's greener, we may lose people coming to our downtown, which help our overall economy.
You talk about an investment, Mayor Benjamin. You call Columbia the new southern hotspot. The city has invested about $1.1 billion since 2010 in capital projects. Talk about these investments in trying to keep your city the new southern hotspot.
Oh, well, and that's also, of course, a play on the words. If any of you have ever been to Columbia, South Carolina, you know it actually is. It's hot.
Especially around now.
We've worked it. The investments, and I think Mayor Bellamy is right on point, seeking to have a business improvement district downtown. We recognize that we are the heart and soul of a region, a strong regional economy. You can step out of a decidedly urban Starbucks in downtown Columbia, and in 10 minutes you're in some great suburban neighborhoods, and in 15 minutes you're in the rural. And it's our job to serve as the heart of this region and make sure that when people visit the center city, that they feel the excitement that they could feel in a city anywhere around the world, recognizing in this new flat world in which we live, that this creative class can live just about anywhere, and people can locate their companies just about anywhere, as long as you have the workforce that to many of the companies that we're trying to attract, they could very well land in Colombia or Mumbai or Richmond or Bangkok. So it's up to us to make sure that we have a live and vibrant city that allows folks to feel that they could have the quality of life that they deserve and that their employees deserve. So we've decided that we're going to invest heavily in the things that matter. We're investing heavily in infrastructure, making sure we have a very sound water and sewer system, 3 beautiful rivers that continue to flow clean, making sure that we have a safe city. Although we've aggressively worked to keep we've not increased taxes and reduced our spending, we have increased our spending to our police department and our fire departments, recognizing that people won't live in the city, they won't invest in the city, they won't ask their employees to live in the city. That's not safe. So we focused on being clean and being safe, and we focused on trying to create an environment where businesses, large businesses coming in, but also where local entrepreneurial endeavors can thrive. And that's been our challenge, and we're going to keep the pace.
I think most of you would agree that public safety issue is #1 job on your list. Mayor Perkins, over in Greensboro, you all are considering a new performing arts center. Is that a like to have, or is that a need to have for further development and growth?
Well, I think it's a have to have for further development and growth. I think if you're going to attract the type of jobs that we all want in our communities and raise the median income in our communities, you have to focus on the things that make your community stand out from the competition. And if you're not there, if you're the third largest city in the state of North Carolina and you don't have a first-class performing arts venue, then you need to build one. And that's where we are in Greensboro.
Mm-hmm. Mayor Wukela, I read your State of the City report that you came out a few months ago. You painted a really bad picture of Florence in 2008. Basically, it's my understanding you raised taxes in 2009. You talked about all these things to try and improve the safety and overall image, to overall basically rebuild your city. How's that coming along?
You know, it reminds me of something Jack Kennedy said when they asked him, what's the thing that surprised you most when you became president? He said, well, things are as bad as I had been saying they were when I was campaigning. But it's quite right that we had some serious problems that confronted the city of Florence when I came into office. We had a large number of abandoned properties. We had a dramatically growing crime rate, had a downtown that had been deteriorating, and all these things were screaming out for change, and superimposed upon the city that was really poised to grow. And so we attacked all those issues. We've hired 18 new police officers and put us in a position where we've decreased juvenile crime by about 28%. We've gone after the abandoned house problem and raised 450 or cleared 450 lots and raised a large number of properties and really attacked that issue, and that's helped us decrease that problem of crime. But probably the most important thing we did, particularly economically, was dealing with this issue of downtown. As Mayor Perkins points out, you can't compete for these industries and for the new type of economy we have if you don't provide the type of cultural amenities that folks are looking for. And so we in cooperation with the Francis Marion University and the Bruce Lee Foundation, which is a fantastic foundation we have in Florence, built this new Performing Arts Center, which is $35 million. It's fantastic, and it's really breathed life into Florence. That's been after the construction of a new library that's a similar investment, as well as this new museum we were just talking about, and it has worked. It's attracted investment into our downtown and has attracted investment of larger industry, Otis and Johnson Controls and these others who say, well, we can come to this community where we can have the quality of life that we're looking for and do business.
You talked about competition. It seems nowadays you're all kind of competing against each other for bringing in jobs to your community. It seems like there's not a company that will relocate or add jobs without getting some sort of government kickback, tax incentive. Mayor Benjamin, can you talk about that and kind of how it's changed a little bit?
Well, I think, and we're seeing, I will tell you, when companies come and visit, and I know all of us will remain very active in economic development. When a prospect's coming to see us, I'm there, front and center. We're spend time with the governor. We meet with them together. I'm seeing less and less of a focus on incentives. Although we are moving forward with creating an economic development closing fund for our city to have. We have very limited tools as municipalities to help incent economic development. So we focus more so on making sure that we have a one-stop permitting process that allows people to get in the business easier with less red tape. But most of the businesses that we've had a chance to engage over the last 6 months aren't really looking for incentives. They're looking to make sure you have the workforce. They want to make sure you have good, quality people who either they have the skill set they're looking for, but certainly make sure they have the work ethic, and you have a wonderful relationship with our technical school system to make sure that we have people with 21st century skills with 21st century jobs. The issue really has been making sure we're focused on having the workforce as opposed to dollars and economic incentives.
Mayor Perkins, are you finding that too? Because I know Greensboro recently just gave a tax incentive to Piedmont Pharmaceuticals for $22,000 for 22 jobs. I mean, that's basically $1,000 a job. I mean, are we getting that into the minutia of trying to lure these companies here or expand them, or are they starting to turn the page and look for other types of things?
Well, I think it's part of the checklist that if you offer the incentives and you're welcoming to the companies, then you're still on the list. If you're not, then you're off the list. So we're trying to stay on everybody's list, and it would be great for Greensboro to have more opportunities to consider incentive packages. What we've done so far is based on a very controlled formula. We don't do anything much outside the box. but we either reward jobs or tax investment over a certain level. And we're looking for jobs that are above the median income in the county. So we really are looking to elevate the median income in our region, and we're doing that through the incentives.
Mayor Bellamy, you had something similar in Asheville, where recently you just basically approved a $500,000 grant for a company to build a 176 apartment unit building in downtown. What happened to free market? What happened to the companies just doing it themselves?
Well, I'll say this, that we look at it in a holistic picture, that when we look at economic development, we're not only incentivizing companies that want to come to our community from outside the area, we're looking at how do we ensure that developers who can do business in Asheville do business in Asheville. And with the development that you're talking about, they were doing exactly what we said in our strategic plan that we wanted. We wanted affordable housing. We wanted access to employment centers. We want to make sure our transportation system can get to the people. And so it was a win-win for our community. And so when we look at how we create jobs, how we build our economy, we're not looking at just a company that's coming from Canada to our community to provide incentives to them. We're looking at how do we make sure we have a good quality of life, and so that our restaurants can continue to serve people and continue to have their doors open. At the same time, how do we make sure that people who work in Asheville, who make it great, how can they live in our community and afford to live in our community? So we partner with developers to do transformational development in order for it to be clean, green, and safe, but more importantly, it's affordable. It has a connectivity to our transportation system. So we're not looking at just create jobs just by manufacturing. We're looking at the holistic picture to say we need people in the construction industry, we need people in the restaurant industry, in the tourism industry, as well as manufacturing.
Moving on to kind of your role, I know all of you are, quote, part-time mayors, but I'm sure you all spend full-time on this job. Do you think that nowadays the mayor should be a strong mayor where they're basically in charge of the administering city government, or do you support the city manager type role, Mayor Perkins?
I'm a strong supporter of the city manager role. I think that we just hired a new city manager last week, and I certainly wouldn't want her job. But I think the city council needs to serve as an advisory board, and the mayor as the chairman of that board, and being the chief spokesperson for the board of directors and for the city is an appropriate thing. Mayor
Wukela?
Well, I think it depends on the particular city that you're dealing with. Florence has about a population of about 40,000 people. The other mayors around the table represent much larger populations than I do. City of Charleston, obviously, has a strong mayor system that I think works very well and is very important and necessary. I'm comfortable in the system I operate in, but I think it's important to understand that the mayor's role in that system is very much depends on the mayor. I think Lyndon Johnson said, power is where power goes, and your ability as a mayor to develop consensus and to build relationships and to lead by identifying an agenda and moving your community and your council towards that agenda is really the measure of a mayor, much more than the particular powers that are set out by statute or ordinance. Now, there are cities, I think, that are in need of a strong mayor system. There are cities that may not be, but regardless of the structural particulars, I think every city needs a mayor that can build that consensus and move forward. And it really doesn't matter what the statutory or ordinance structure is if you don't have a mayor that can convince people and that can motivate folks.
Mayor Bellamy, how about you?
It's one of those things that it's just like it's already been said, it depends on the location. And for me, Asheville's at one of those crossroads. It depends on where we want to grow and how we want to go. If we're going to continue to grow upwards, I think we're okay with where we are. If we're going to continue to try to use a tool that our legislature is trying to take away from us or is taken away as far as annexation is concerned, and we're growing outward, then I think, the position of mayor is changing. And I think when I first became mayor in 2005, I didn't have as many responsibilities. And now as the economy has changed, as people needs are changing, people want to see their elected officials. They want to have the opportunity to touch, feel, and talk. And I think that their expectations are, we want you to address this issue right now. I have to tell them, well, that's operational. I have to tell our city manager now, like, well, no, we elected you. And so that accountability piece becomes,
that's what I keep hearing
it's
about.
a big issue because they say, I elected you to get this done, not understanding, well, the state statutes and our city charter says that's the city manager's job. And so I think right now we're at a tug of war in that you want direct responsibilities in the mayor's office, but our charter says that's not how it operates. And so that's why we're at a crossroads. You know, the people want one thing, but the reality is another.
Mayor Benjamin, I believe,
Sure.
are you a supporter of strong mayor? Is that what I understand?
I've always believed that you don't have to have the straw man form of government to be a strong mayor. And we've, regardless of the council manager form of government that we operate under, we've never hesitated to lead the city, casting a broad vision, putting together a very aggressive strategic plan, and leading by force of personality to get the major things done at the city. I enjoy a very good and close relationship with our city manager. He's become a dear friend and trusted ally, and he does a fantastic job. However, I believe that when you talk about terms of accountability, that people, I think it's the most accountable form of government. People elect you to make decisions. They trust you to make those decisions, and they will hold you accountable if those decisions are not made and not made in a rapid manner. In the world in which we live now, in which decisions are made rapidly, when we carry the power of the world's libraries in our pockets now, when decisions in terms of economic development or public safety or whatever it happens to be need to be made in a rapid but also deliberative manner, I believe that the power to run a city, America's incubators, ought to reside with the mayor.
Okay. We, believe it or not, we only have a few minutes left, but what takes up most of your time? Dealing with your council, your state or federal government, or the people who elect you? Mayor Wukela. On the spot.
An impossible question to answer. The answer is all three, frankly. You know, you can't, you are constantly inundated with requests and needs from your constituents, and you strive as well as you can to respond to those immediately and get those answered. But obviously part of that process is getting council to act and getting things done in the legislative arena. So you have to certainly pay attention to those folks and make sure that you're considering their concerns and addressing their concerns and moving your agenda forward. And certainly there are always those questions and calls from Washington that you have to respond to urgently. So the answer is you juggle and you answer all three as quickly as you can.
Well, I did say which takes up most time, which is not, I didn't ask which is easiest. Mayor Bellamy.
I think right now we're dealing a lot with what's coming out of Raleigh for the issues that are impacting municipalities. I am on a League of Municipalities board, and what we're seeing are a lot of regulations, a lot of transforming how cities operate. I talked about earlier about annexation, and in North Carolina, we basically won't have that tool as a way of increasing revenue, increasing the number of people who live in our municipalities. Another thing is we're right now, so you know, Raleigh's looking to take our airport away from us to give to an independent board. Not only that, Raleigh's looking to take away our water department. It's just like these are two economic engines that really drive a community, and you want to put them in the hands of unelected individuals. And I think for me right now is dealing with what's happening in Raleigh as it relates to the future of our community.
We only have about a minute and a half left, but one other issue I wanted to get to is the glass bowl all of you are living in. I know all of you are on Twitter, the Twitter machine. Mayor Benjamin, you're on it a lot, even going with the Gamecocks every strike by strike during the World Series.
You're following me.
Talk about using it.
Steve Benjamin SC on Twitter. Please follow us. No, I think social media is the way of the world now, and people want to know what's going on in life, and you got to, of course, make sure you're careful. You never put anything on social media you wouldn't want to see on the front of your local newspaper on the news. But it is a wonderful new tool for engaging our citizens, and we'll continue to use it.
Mayor Perkins, how's your ankle? And I found that with the Twitter machine. I mean, you can't even have a health issue without people knowing.
No, I've got a torn tendon in my left ankle, and I'm going to have surgery on July 10th. And I'll be walking around in a cast for 6 weeks, which means I can pay more attention to the details.
Exactly. But it just goes to show that there is no such thing as, I guess, a private life anymore when you're in this elected position.
No, you throw something in the trash can, and they'll write about it.
No, all right. Well, we'll be reading about that tomorrow. Hey, believe it or not, we're out of time. I want to thank all of you for joining us. We could talk for hours on all these issues, but it's great seeing all of you, and thank you so much for joining. And thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you back here next time.
Major funding for Carolina Business Review was provided by the Duke Endowment, a private foundation in Charlotte enriching communities in the Carolinas through higher education, healthcare, rural churches, and children's services. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina. Who's responsible for rising healthcare costs? Join Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina and many others in a candid discussion at letstalkcost.com. Grant Thornton, an international accounting, tax, and business advisory organization dedicated to serving middle-market companies. Grant Thornton, a passion for the business of accounting. Novant Health, including Presbyterian in Charlotte and Forsyth in Winston-Salem, are affiliate heart hospitals of the Cleveland Clinic, consistently ranked #1 in the nation for heart care. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of South Carolina, proudly serving South Carolinians since 1946. Sunoco, a global manufacturer of consumer and industrial packaging products and provider of packaging services with more than 300 operations in 35 countries. And by viewers like you. Thank you. Promotional consideration provided by Business North Carolina Magazine. For more information, visit carolinabusinessreview.com.